engineering laboratory technician. Wow.
Oh, so he's smart. That's what he's trying to say.
That's a long title. I remember that Nicole is from Missouri, so I thought I'd send her a sticker and challenge coin. And I just want to say, Matthew, you made my day.
That's so awesome.
So he sent a cool sticker and these put my coins to shame.
Oh my gosh, that's huge.
It's awesome.
So you could knock a dog out with this. She's already knocked out.
That's terrible. But you are going to be making me a challenge coin holder.
Like a display case thing?
Yes,
Okay.
I really need one because now I have really cool coins, and I love collecting coins.
Yeah.
So
you're weird.
And he's going to be deployed for 6 months very soon, and he's been downloading pretty much everything.
Nice. Just have a stockpile to show. That's great. That makes me so happy to hear that.
Thank you.
Yeah, please.
So much. It was such a nice treat to get that in the mail.
Yeah, and good luck, man.
Yes.
Thank you for your service. Okay, so we have a new video, the knockdown trestle table, which is now sitting in our kitchen. We've used it for a couple nights already. Absolutely love that thing. But the first part in a 2-part series is on the website. Go check that out. It's at thewoodwhisperer.com.
Hey, do you know what challenge coins, what the purpose is for them? Do you know the story behind them?
Does it involve Pokemon? Do you fight them? Because that would certainly beat up our coins.
So there's a couple. Of course, just the act of collecting them. That's kind of for me. But like, let's say you're at the bar with your friends and somebody pulls out their challenge coin.
And you get to punch them in the nards?
No.
I like this game. It's a violent one.
The idea is that you're at an event, somebody pulls out their challenge coins. The idea is that everyone has one, and whoever's not carrying it has to buy the round of drinks.
Oh, I see.
So
okay.
That's one of the little things. I'm sure there's probably some, but that's one of the things that I've heard.
Well, cool. All right, we got some questions here.
We do, and I will be. We monitor the YouTube chat, not the Facebook chat, because Mark goes back, because Facebook actually saves that chat. Unfortunately, YouTube
and I can
doesn't.
go back and answer those questions.
So I will be extracting questions throughout this whole live session.
And also another thing with the super chat, they actually do segment those out. So if we happen to miss a super chat question, I can go back afterwards and check the list and then answer you directly.
Nice.
If that's something you're interested in doing. Okay, first question here from Trevor Wilson. Do you want to read these?
Oh yeah, I could do that.
These are from our patrons. Oh, by the way, patreon.com/woodwhisperer.
I thought it was the Wood Whisperer.
No, you always want to put the back in there. It's unnecessary, Nicole. It's patreon.com/woodwhisperer.
Yes.
And these are where we got those questions from.
Trevor Wilson, hi guys. Going to be working with Walnut for the first time, just a little bedside phone charging station. Is there anything I need to know or look out for with Walnut? Well, I don't know.
Look out, baby.
I have no idea. Trevor. You might want to ask Mark.
Yeah, that's a good question for me. I'll take this one, Nicole. You take a break.
Okay, thanks.
All right? Okay, so I've got some examples here of walnut to give you an idea what we're looking at. Walnut can actually be pretty variable. There's a lot of cool elements to walnut. It's one of my favorite woods to work with. You'll see I actually incorporate it quite a bit, that and cherry. It's very easy to work. I don't find it temperamental wood to work with, but I will show you an example here, and I don't have much walnut on hand, so forgive my poor collection. But this is a piece that was a cutoff from the rocking chair project. And obviously with this crazy grain, this was not a good candidate for a chair. But what I want to show you here is how some cuts can be incredibly variable. Look at this amazing grain. And it's going all over the place, right? This is a wild board. This is probably, unless you're doing something very specific with it, may not be your best choice for structural components, because there's just too many grain variables here that could cause weak points. And there's also knots and things that you can see with this checking shows that it's quite unstable. But I am showing you this to show you the varied beauty that you can get with walnut. Okay, now here is a piece of walnut that I got at the local Denver meetup. I think it was Adam who brought this, and he kind of did it as a quiz to see who could guess what wood it was. Well, it happens to be walnut, but with some of this figuring and the color, it threw everybody off because this is actually a good chunk of sapwood. Okay, so much like any other species, you're going to get a difference between your sapwood and your heartwood. And the sapwood is, very light color, like this little stripe here, and the heartwood is the darker stuff, right? But if you get a big chunk of sapwood, it's still walnut. It just looks very different. Okay, and then this is a good example of a nice clean. This would probably be your rift sawn or quarter sawn face of walnut. Of course, this is plywood. But again, my limited supply of materials right now, this is just showing you what it looks like. And this, is pretty typical of that rift sawn sort of, grain look where it's all striped like this, okay? But it's still nice and clean. So you have a lot of variability in grain patterns, in the cleanliness of the look and the consistency of the grain. But walnut, I find that it works like a dream. It takes a finish very well. It takes stain. God forbid you wanted to do that for some reason. It takes stain very well. What you do have to keep an eye out for is the fact that it is a open pored wood. So you're not going to be able to see it in the video right now, but if you look closely at walnut, you'll notice it has a lot of little baby pore pockets. Okay, so that means it's not a good candidate for a gloss finish unless you fill the grain. Okay, if you don't fill the grain, you're going to have all those little pore pockets showing through that gloss. But walnut, one of my favorites.
What's up with this? Is that just a bad
That's
cut?
just the milling.
The milling.
It's a very, rough, wild board with crazy grain.
Crazy grain.
It's Nicole's nickname in college.
Sounds like a cool woodworking parody song.
Crazy grain.
Going
What?
on the crazy grain.
On the crazy grain. Is an Ozzy cover? Oh, that's terrible.
Somebody asked,
That's awful.
they said, is that a Sergeant Slaughter cup? And my response is, not only is it a Sergeant Slaughter cup,
It's a Roddy
Piper and Jake the Snake.
That's right.
There you go.
Nothing but the best.
We are old school in this house.
I hate wrestling, just to let you know.
I
I like the cup,
that cup.
and I like
So-
Sergeant Slaughter because of his association with G.I. Joe. It has nothing to do with WWF.
It was
Just letting you know.
It was actually WWE.
Huh?
It used to be WWF. Now it's WWE. But it also, never mind. I used to watch wrestling as a kid.
Yeah, and I don't think Sergeant Slaughter was ever in the WWE.
No, he was in the WWF.
I'm sure he was retired by then, which is why I said
No.
WWF.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
She's trying to show me up. I hate wrestling, and she's trying to question my knowledge on this topic.
Well, what was the other wrestling federation then?
Glow.
You would have watched Glow.
Who wouldn't watch Glow?
Oh,
It's the only other one that mattered.
All right. So anyway,
Okay.
so yeah, I'm feeling much better. In case you're not wondering.
Oh,
Or in case you are wondering.
I need my prop for this. So Joso or Yoso?
Yoso Electrovic. I'm sure I just butchered that. Which Bluetooth ear protection are you using nowadays? I would like to be able to listen to my audiobooks while standing.
That's a good idea. I use 3M Bluetooth work tunes.
Work tunes.
And all the things I've tried in the past with the little adapter and those Howard Late headphones, those were okay. This is a really good solution. I'm enjoying it. It takes a couple of batteries, so I do have to keep those charged, but I use the Sanyo and Loop batteries, and they work great. I love this. It does AM, FM. The only thing is it's not dedicated just for Bluetooth, so every time you power it up, you've got to cycle through to get to the Bluetooth input setting. But should your batteries run out on your device, or that's a stupid thing to say. What I meant to say is if you're, for some reason you don't want to do Bluetooth, you can actually do a line in on this and have a direct connection with a cord. But the batteries last a long time. I get days worth of usage out of this. In fact, I usually wind up having to charge it before it even starts to go dead. I just charge it preemptively, just whenever I think about it. So those, I think, are my top recommendation for Bluetooth.
You have a lot of 3M stuff.
Yeah, they make some good stuff.
Yeah, they've given us some stuff to give away, giveaways,
Past
and things like
safety
that,
week stuff,
never
right?
convinced them to sponsor the show.
Bunch of jerks with all their money sitting there. Give us some of that 3M money, baby. All right. Next one, Kurt Allen.
Kurt Allen, I'm a little confused by uphill and downhill cuts with a handheld router on curves while using a flush trim or pattern bit. Are the general rules of counterclockwise or on exterior cuts and clockwise on interior cuts modified for a better result or safer process?
I wonder if Kurt drives a Rolls Canardly.
Huh?
A Rolls Canardly.
What's that?
He rolls down one hill, can hardly get up the next.
I just walked into that.
Yes, you did. Someone's got to.
Like, what?
Millie isn't going to fall for it, so you may as well.
Where did Millie go? Millie!
In the house.
Okay.
Or no, she's sunning.
She's sunning, okay.
Okay, so I'm using this ring here, which isn't the best example because you really want something wider, to show you this whole uphill, downhill, counterclockwise, clockwise thing. Generally speaking, most of the time, let's use this piece of wood, we're putting an edge on something like this. If you're standing in front of the workpiece, as I am right here, you're going to go from left to right. And that's basically a standard cut. If you go from right to left, that's a climb cut. And now you're working in the direction of the bit. So as the bit is rotating this way, you're actually going in that same direction, which is what makes that cut a little bit scary because the router will want to walk on you. It gets traction and you're giving it what it wants. You're telling it to go in a direction it naturally wants to go, and that can be scary with a power tool. So when you are going left to right, we are actually going sort of against the bit's motion, and our pressure is against the workpiece. It doesn't have that tendency to walk backwards on you. You also get good results that way. Climb cuts, because they do go with the grain, can give a smoother result, but they can also burn, and you could lose control, which is why we don't do them that often. Okay, so when you're going like this, you're always going counterclockwise around the workpiece, counterclockwise. Now where this gets a little confusing is Kurt's example when we're talking about a frame. With a frame, let's say this were larger and I were doing a profile on the inside edge and the outside edge. On the outside, counterclockwise, right? I'm gonna go like this, and I'm gonna round over the outside. What do I do when I'm on the inside edge?
I don't know.
What, you don't know? It's a good thing I'm gonna tell you. You're gonna go clockwise. You go the opposite way on the inside edge. Now, it seems like you're doing something the opposite, but it's actually the same. And I'll tell you why. Because if I'm addressing this, forget this section. Pretend we're just working on a board and that represents any other board, right? What do I do on this? Left to right. Left to right. Nicole? Mm-hmm. Left to right.
Yes.
This section, let's pretend that's the same thing.
Sand the floor.
Sand the floor. I'm on the inside now. I'm going left to right. See, same sort of thing. So, but the problem is because I'm inside of a frame, that left to right motion is actually causing me to go in a clockwise direction. So just look at the edge, as long as it's in front of me and I'm addressing that edge facing me, I'm always going left to right. On the outside of a frame, that makes me go counterclockwise. And on the inside of a frame, that makes me go clockwise. Now, if you don't understand this, take a router and some props and go into your shop and try it yourself. You'll see it's a little bit tricky to explain sometimes, but that is exactly what's happening.
D, I think it kind of falls in with what you're talking with in the chat room, says, I never understood direction of grain when using a jointer. Can you explain this? Is that what you're talking about?
It's different. I mean, it's a similar topic.
Yeah.
So certainly something we can talk about. Direction of grain with a jointer. Okay. I'll just use this piece since we have some crazy grain.
Crazy grain.
I'm gonna actually, crazy grain. All right. So here's some grain on this board. I've drawn it on there just to kind of make it a little bit more obvious where that grain is going, okay? The jointer, this is gonna be a little bit, let's go to the edge of the table because my brain isn't going to wrap around trying to show people in an orientation.
Crazy brain.
All right. So if you're jointing, the jointer head is going this way, right? Clockwise, which means your blades are coming in and taking chunks out this way. Okay, here's your blades, and they're coming this way. So if we were to run this board over a circular rotating cutter head in this orientation, it's gonna wanna chip out. It's not gonna be happy because what's gonna happen when you think about driving a chisel right in at this angle, you could actually split the board along the grain, right? The grain is sort of that weak point. So if you were to run this over the jointer the other way, let's flip it around this way, and the other side of the board shows the opposite orientation. Now our grain is more like this, and our rotation is this way. Now we're coming in, chopping, and pulling out that way. See how that's with the grain versus against the grain. And that's really all we're talking about when jointing with and against grain.
Cool. Cosmo 239 wants to know if you're going to woodworking in America this year.
I'm jointing all my boards with the crazy grain. What?
Are you going to woodworking in America this year? Do they have woodworking?
Are they skipping a year?
I thought they were skipping.
I'm almost positive.
No.
WIA is skipping.
Yeah, they are skipping. So no.
No one is going.
No one's going.
You're all grounded. No one can go to WIA this year. Confirm that. I think so. I think we talked about that on
Because I know they're doing, Fine Woodworking is doing
Fine
their
Woodworking
thing.
Live and Weekend with Wood.
Yeah.
But I think
WIA is skipped.
WIA is off here.
Yeah.
Because they said something like they're alternating with Handworks.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
That's right.
Next.
Keegan Morrison. I like his name, Keegan. Hi, Mark. Last year I had a red oak tree cut up into slabs
Dang.
and quarter sawn boards. I don't have a jointer and I can't find the budget for one, but I do have a 13-inch planer, router, and table saw. Can I get by with these tools, or is a jointer critical?
A joiner will make your life much easier, but you have tools that can actually do some of those tasks. So I wouldn't, necessarily run out and get the jointer. Just try some of these things. It's extra work. On your planer, you can, because here's the thing. What's the jointer do? It gives you a clean face and a 90-degree edge. Those are the two things you have to find substitutions for. So for the face, to establish a clean face, look into planer sleds. You can build a planer sled, or you can just take a piece of plywood, like it is, and your rough board, plop it down, and if it's a little bit wobbly, which it will be, use shims, a little bit of hot glue, and stabilize it. Just make sure it doesn't rock and move around. Now put this whole assembly through your planer. That's gonna give you one clean, flat face. Then you can take it off, flip it over, run it through the planer again. Now we have two flat faces, and they're both parallel planes. So what about the edge? Well, now you have two options here. One is to use a flush trim bit and a straight edge. Let's say three options. A flush trim bit and some kind of a straight edge to go across the edge and make it nice and clean and jointed. Option number two would be a circular saw with some kind of a guide, right? So you can make a nice, clean, straight edge with a good, consistent cut. Option number three is to use a jig at the table saw. If you have let's say maybe a piece of plywood or MDF, something that you know has a straight edge on it, and actually temporarily with double stick tape or hot glue, connect it to this workpiece, right? And then you have that little strip here. Now, you just have to make sure it's offset from the workpiece so that what's running against the fence is that piece of ply. And then you could run this board over the table saw safely and let the table saw trim a parallel edge to that MDF piece. And now we've got a jointed edge, or roughly jointed edge, and you can just flip it over, put that side against the fence, and then clean up your second edge. So you can do it. You can get around it. And there's even other tricks. You can turn your router table into a jointer on smaller pieces. So that's kind of the way I would go about it, but you do have options.
Mm-hmm. I have a non-woodworking question.
All right.
It's a question for both of us, really. Well, 417 wants to know, have you picked up the new Zelda? It's top notch.
I hear it's top notch, but one has to have a switch to truly enjoy it.
I've been looking for a damn Switch.
And I am not playing it on the Wii U.
No.
Because that's not happening. So yeah, we're currently hunting.
We're hunting for a Switch and the Zelda game. So
Shannon told me, one of his Hand Tool School members and a Wood Talk listener who submitted one of the intros for Wood Talk that we selected, is on the Nintendo Switch team. And Shannon said he's going to tell him that I really want a Switch.
You really want one.
So if you're watching this, I really want one.
It's funny because since we've had kids, the Nintendo system has gone to the top of the list of the systems we play the most.
Well, involving the kids, yes.
Well, yeah, and we involve the kids quite a
But
bit.
you and I, not so much.
Well, yeah, we still
our
play our
PS4s.
PS4. Yeah.
Okay.
So, anyway.
Do we have another one of these?
Yeah, Jerry Miller. In the market for a drum sander, and I'm either set on the new Jet 1632 or the Supermax 1938.
It's a tricky one, man. They're both good. I think
There's
if you're just
a price difference in both.
well, he said they're pretty close.
Are they close?
I haven't looked it up, but both are likely to be solid performers. I believe this is the new Jet 1632,
Yeah, it is.
and I haven't used
It has
it. But
that
again,
dolly thing.
I think I even said this last week. A lot of the features are similar to what I have in my Powermatic, which I really love. I don't think you're going to go wrong either way. But what I'll say is, if you're comparing a 1632 and a 1938. You may be just looking at pure number comparison here, and you might just go with the one that has more capacity. And Supermax makes fantastic drum sanders. So I don't think you're going to be unhappy with either one. And if
Does that mean 16 inches? 16?
yeah, it's 16 inches, but it's
so the-
open-ended, so you
okay.
could run it and flip it around and run it again. That makes it 32.
Oh, and that
So
makes
19
it 38.
is 38.
Okay.
Everything's double, so 25, 50, or
Gotcha.
however they break it down.
I didn't understand those numbers, but now that makes sense.
So it's actually got 3 more inches of capacity. So think about it. If you're going to use those 3 inches, then go for it. But if the Jet has the same adjustment mechanism that the Powermatic does,
It does.
I like that calibration system better than the Supermax. But the Supermax is already better than what we used to have, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of a little bit of a trade-off there. All right,
little
let's
twirly
go to questions.
Some questions
live
from,
questions.
Yeah, I've been gathering some questions.
Yay.
Beanbag 109 wants to know any updates on the taps. We're going to be coming up on the end of our pre-order.
We
for
are
the
pretty
sale.
soon, just a couple
so
weeks.
if you're not familiar, because there might be people watching that have no idea what
We should probably mention it. Yeah, so we have a new tool coming out called Wood Whisperer Thread Taps in cooperation with, in partnership with
Andy Klein.
Andy Klein
Yay.
and his big brain. I had a secret meeting with Andy at Woodcraft.
Secret.
Yes, it was in the chisel aisle, and people were walking by and listening, so it wasn't all that secret. We did meet up at Woodcraft, and we actually have, I can't really talk about it in detail, but we do have something we're experimenting with. Before we go for the first production run, we came up with like a late game idea that may actually wind up making the threads even stronger.
Awesome.
And we can't say anything about it, but it's gonna be cool.
Yeah.
If it works out, it's going to be cool. So we'll have some experimentation going. And how great would it be to be like, hey, I know you guys pre-ordered this already, but we actually came up with a new development that makes these things even better. But anyway, go to www.threadtaps.com.
Yes.
And you'll find all the
not
details.
just-
Don't even talk about it because you're going to confuse
Okay.
it. Just don't say it.
www.
www.threadtaps.com. And pre-order your
Yeah.
thread taps if you're interested.
March 24th is when the pre-sale goes. We're done with that.
Yeah.
We're going to get some additional stock, but they might, depending on the cost and all that.
Well, we have initial stock to get. We have to worry about vendors.
Yeah,
We're
we
going
have a
to
couple
potentially be
vendors.
partnering with woodworking vendors you guys know and love. So lot to think about. It's a whole different ball game than just making videos.
But
So,
the pre-order, if you get either the metric set or the
the
Imperial
5-piece
set,
metric or the 6-piece
you'll
Imperial.
get a guild project. So you'll be a
Yes.
guild member along with getting taps. So, but after the 24th, that is gone.
That offer is gone.
So there you go.
All right.
Update. Corey says, do you have any tips for sanding a chamfer without rounding over the edge? I built a glider rocker chair for my wife and chamfered all the parts, but don't want to ruin the look by rounding it over.
Yep. I understand that.
Look at you throwing out a demo like that.
This is what I do.
Yeah, I
Nicole.
know.
I spend time here in the shop every day thinking of ways to help people.
Yeah.
I'm almost as important as a doctor. That's what I'm saying.
Almost.
I almost save lives.
Almost.
Okay.
You're such a goober.
So the key with the chamfer is to sand as little as possible, right? Because the sanding is going to potentially, no matter what you do, create problems. But the key, I find, is to use a hard surface. If you use some kind of a sanding block that's, got a little bit of give to it, it will definitely round over those chamfers. If you use a powered sander, forget about it. It's going to be awful. So whenever I have to sand a chamfer, I use something nice and firm. Got another example here. A couple other examples. quite a few things. So I've got sanding strips that I use. This is a flexible sanding strip, but in spite of being flexible this way, it's not really that flexible this way. So if I have a nice chamfer to sand, I could use that. And as long as I can keep it nice and flat, and I don't, rock it like a dummy, that'll actually keep it flat and maintain the integrity of that flat edge. You could sort of simulate the same thing very quickly. A lot of times I won't make like a dedicated sanding thing for this. I'll just take a strip of wood or a little block, a cutoff that I have sitting around, and I will just grab a piece of sandpaper, put it right up against there, maybe fold the edges so I have something to grip, and then use that. And I find the key with that is just a hard surface. It's got to be firm. If you have the sandpaper backed up by a softer surface, it's going to round it over. So that's how I usually tackle it. And most of the time, it's an on-the-fly sort of thing. I don't make dedicated sanding things for that. But you certainly could get a little spray adhesive, right? Put a little sandpaper on there, and now you got yourself a nice little one-time use or disposable sanding stick. Next, please.
Oh, I got another question for you.
Yay.
Somebody said, you guys have time to play video games? We do.
Well, we're becoming people that can play video games again as the kids get a little older and sleep later.
Yeah, and it's funny because we tend, we'll go through a TV period where we watch our shows.
We'll binge watch shows every night, and then we get into a video game period where we're both playing games.
Well, and I finally got my PS4 hooked up and played the hell out of Rise of the Tomb Raider. That is a great game.
What it comes down to is when the kids wake up.
Yeah.
If the kids are waking up at 6, 5:30, it's not happening. Everybody's on a more regimented schedule.
Yeah.
And now they're just in a phase where they're getting up at 7:30, sometimes trying to sleep till 8. That means we could stay up till, 11 to midnight, depending on the night. So.
How feisty we feel.
Yes. Sometimes we'll take a Sudafed and be like, screw it, we're staying up.
We're congested and we're
clearing our nasal passages and staying up at the same time.
Let's see. Chris Childs, question about router bits. What's the acceptable, allowable amount of the shank to be extended above the collet?
The acceptable, allowable amount of the shank to be extended above the collet.
Yes.
I think it kind of depends on what you're looking to do here. There's two things I'm concerned about when seating a router bit, and that is to make sure that you
should
aren't
show
choking
your
up.
Awesome router bit storage.
It's just why are you fascinated by that?
It's so cool.
Is it?
Yeah. Some people probably would like to see it. Would you like to see it?
I don't think they would, Nicole. I'll be honest with you.
How does Mark store his router bits?
It's just not that impressive. It's a Festool sustainer.
Yeah.
With a foam insert.
Well, it could be any box, really, but.
Yeah, but you need the foam insert.
Yeah.
You could do what the heck's that stuff called? The Kaizen foam. You could do that. Kaizen. It's a brand. It's not like the roll.
Kaiser.
It's not Kaiser.
Yeah,
this is my. I don't know
Kaiser
why
Sosa.
Nicole's absolutely fascinated with this.
I just think it's a neat little idea that you did.
No, I didn't do it. I just bought it.
Did you just shove them in there?
No, it came pre-tapped with holes.
Oh, I thought you did that on your own.
No, I'm just trying to understand why you
I thought
love
you were
this idea so much.
I have these sustainers. I think I'm just going to start jamming my router bits in it.
It came with holes in it.
Okay, well then never mind.
You are a silly
you're
goose,
not in it. I
Nicole.
thought you were.
But this does afford me the chance to show you what I'm talking about here. So here's a typical router bit. And what I'm concerned about is two things. I want to make sure I have enough of the shank in the collet, but I want to make sure I don't have so much that I'm choking up on the cutter head. Because a lot of times, router bit, the shaft here may change diameter. It may start to change shape as it's approaching the cutter. So you don't really want to be right up on it, and you definitely don't want to just have a little nub. So I don't know 100% exactly what he's asking, but what I get concerned about is when too much of the bit is outside of the collet. Ideally, I would like to have my collet choked up probably 1/8 to 1/4 below the first signs of milling for the head, right? So right around here is probably where I would choke up. That's going to give me a good, nice vibration-free connection. How far am I willing to extend it? I would say I want at least a good 1/2 inch in that collet. Now this is not something I read somewhere or whatever. This is just my personal viewpoint on it. Other people may have different opinions, but how much I grip also depends on the type of bit. Now, a straight bit like this, you can get away with that. Would I do just a 1/2 inch on something like this? Well, I don't know about that, right? The bigger the diameter, the more critical it is that you have a good grip on it. So this is not an exact science for me. It's just something that I kind of go with my gut. But the bigger diameter, larger diameter bits, I do want to see as much of that shaft embedded as possible. And I start to get nervous when it's only grabbing the end. Just makes me a little bit, scared. So there it is.
There you go.
Hopefully that helps.
Matt Thor says, excited you guys moved to Denver near me.
Thor's hammer!
I know. Merlin's beard.
Merlin's beard! What now?
Sorry. Excited we moved to Denver. Hope you're doing well. Where are you guys getting your wood aside from the slab you got from CS Woods? I will say, Matt, if you are on Facebook, search for Denver Area Makers. It's a group that we started. And the first post that I've pinned to the very top is a Google Doc.
Resources, right?
It's all, there's a ton of people locally that have given resources, and we've put it all there, and there's tons of resources.
Yeah, for me, so far, Austin Hardwoods has been my primary resource because it's actually only about 10 to 15 minutes away. Paxton Lumber is supposed to be really good.
Paxton Lumber.
I have not been there, but there are plenty of places to go to. It's just, if it's a pinch and I need some cherry, I'm going to go to the place that's closest.
And here's the thing. If you join the Denver Area Makers group, there are members inside the group that harvest their own lumber. So they're not a dealer, but they have
right? He's
lumber.
one of the guys.
So here's some of Paxton's Lumber, Austin Hardwoods, TC Woods, which is in Lupton.
We'll just put the link there. It's only interesting to Denver people.
I know. Hey.
Okay, next question.
If it's not Denver, it's not interesting.
Hurry up, next question. This is where I rush you.
All right.
I know you love it.
Preston Grace wants to know, what's the best way to avoid snipe when plating?
Here, snipe. Here, snipe. All right. It's ridiculous that we think of the same things.
We're married.
He wants to avoid snipe when planing?
Yeah.
It's tricky, and let me tell you right off the bat, there are some planers that try as hard as you might, you may never get the snipe to go away completely. So
Even if you clap.
Even if you clap. So what I would do, Kevin will never come. What I usually wind up doing is try to calibrate it so that it just, get rid of as much of the snipe as possible. And a lot of times it comes down to adjusting the chip breaker and its orientation and relationship to the cutter head. Okay, because sometimes what will happen is you wind up getting into, like the work hits the first roller, and then it hits the blade, and then it hits the second roller, and the second roller kind of pushes it down a little. I get confused. I'm getting confused. It's early, and I haven't had enough coffee. Point is, chip breaker, cutter head, distance from the chip breaker, and the orientation of the rollers. All those things can help. But if you do all that and you still get snipe, one of the things you could do is lift up on the workpiece as you put it in and lift up on it as you're pulling it out the other end. You're sort of forcing the wood at the very end to push down a little bit so that once it comes off that first cutter head and it's moving its way through, comes off the first cutter head and it has a tendency to want to lift up a little bit and then the cutter creates that snipe, you're actually pulling up and forcing it to stay down. You may get mixed results with that. It's hard to say for sure.
You should do a video.
I should.
On that.
And it can help, but still, I get a little bit of snipe on my planer and I've got it tuned up as best as I possibly can. So it can be a tricky endeavor, unfortunately.
Yes.
There's other things you could do. Also, look at our website, search for snipe, and I think I have an article on that as well.
Someone asked if the metric taps can only be bought in a set, and yes, only a set right now.
Yeah, we did that specifically because international shipping is going to be outrageous on a single bit. So we figure if we're going to be shipping these things overseas, people are really only going to be interested in buying the set because that then, makes the value proposition make sense. A single bit where you pay almost, probably twice as much in shipping as the bit cost is probably not going to be a good value for people.
135 Pilot wants to know, when can we expect the dining room chair in the guild? Anxiously awaiting. Me too.
You could expect it in April, like the video says. It's a spring project.
It's a spring
so
project.
it's slated for I think it's April.
April.
So sometime in April. We generally shoot to have things like that start at the very beginning of the month, but we are finishing Matt's project, so we may even kind of bump up against each other. We'll see. But as soon as we're done, well, I just got the table done. My next order of business is to start designing and getting the plans ready for it. So we are moving forward. It's going to be a beast of a project because I think I've got a lot of these chairs.
Yeah.
So like one chair is fine, but this will be a batching project for me. And you know what though? That's good because most people are not building one dining chair.
They're building at least
4 to 6.
Yeah.
So that's what I'll be doing.
Yes.
Soon, April. One more question. We're actually done today.
Okay.
Time's up, baby.
Alrighty. We got all the patrons' questions.
We did.
And you know what though? There was one question that came in late last week that I told him that I would move unless you've already asked it.
Well, I don't know. I didn't take it from last week.
Here it is. Yeah.
I answered him though.
Oh, you already did.
Well, you see right there, Mark Spagnuolo?
No, that's me saying we missed your question.
Oh.
That's not you, that's me.
Okay, that's very confusing for me. Okay, what did he ask? That's Yoso again.
Could you please recommend paints for baby toys? I'm making a set of building blocks for my son and I would like bright colors on them.
I don't want to answer that question. I don't like that question.
Well,
I don't paint, so.
But we've used milk paint. I mean, any kind of like.
I think milk paint is pretty safe.
Because that's why we picked it for Mateo's toy box.
Right. Yeah, I think it's pretty safe because it's a natural product.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't really research baby-safe paints, and I'm kind of uncomfortable making a recommendation.
Okay.
Because I haven't researched it.
Yeah.
And it's not something that I've done, so I'm kind of that's why I lay off
You hate our
stuff
children.
like that. No, I just want them to have natural wood products with nothing on them.
Well, it's fun to put paint on it. They make it colorful. And
yeah.
stuff
Well,
like
there's
that.
also there are also dyes that can be used. But you do have to be careful because you have dyes in the mouth, then you might have issues with them reactivating color and things.
Yeah.
But I honestly, that's just not a good question for me to answer because I don't know. I don't know baby safe paints.
Well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to Google baby safe paints.
That's a good start. That's what he should have done instead of asking me. Don't ask this moron over here.
All right, so
okay.
So if you want to get your questions for sure answered, because I know there was a number of questions that were asked in chat room, and I had it in my list, and we're out of time. You can head on over to patreon.com/woodwhisperer. Sign up for one. Which level is it? I think it's like the. Because I send out for the Friday stuff.
I just all patrons.
All patrons.
It's fine. I don't really get too picky about it. And speaking of Patreon, let's thank a few folks: Rob Hartley, James Smith, Nick Henke, Richard Wright, Robert DeMarco, Jean-Philippe Theberge. Do you like that? Trevor Wilson, Nico.
Oh, that's cool.
Not even going to bother with your last name, Nico.
I love Nico. I consider naming Mateo Nico.
Annette Israel, Butch Sizemore. I don't know why that name. No offense, Butch, but that sounds like a porn name, doesn't it?
A little bit.
Isn't it a great?
But it's a great name.
Butch Sizemore. I would watch him in a film. Okay, Kurt Allen and Kenny K.
This is what I deal with, okay? This is what
no offense, Butch. This is how we do things. If I can make a porn joke, I will take that opportunity every time. Okay.
Hey, you're going to need to find a piece of scrap wood around here and sign it for me so I can send it to one of our patrons. Because we have a level now.
Here's one that says Legbot. Would you like that one? Okay, that's fine.
We have a couple of patrons that want.
This is, what's cool? What would be neat is if I'm doing these things to sign scraps, that they get it sort of from a specific project, so that
that'd be kind of cool.
The scraps I have right now are from this table build, so they know that it's kind of, it's associated with that table in a way.
I love the table.
It's almost like getting a piece of the Berlin Wall, just completely not nearly as socially and politically relevant
at all
or important. But it's kind of like that. Don't you think?
No.
Okay.
But
Never let me have any fun.
I love the table though. It's
good.
Great.
You're stuck with it now.
It's funny how I have just muscle memory on trying to
push the table out.
To push the table to avoid the leg that's not there anymore.
Cremona, he made a joke and said that I guess the height of the table is more wiener level than hip level.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I forgot to do a fly check. Yep, I'm good. I told him, I said, please keep your wiener off of my table.
Yeah, we don't want any of that. Nobody wants that.
By the way, I was discussing it last night with
Yeah.
Matt, and I think it's probably time that we do a anti-Cremona campaign with stickers and T-shirts.
I don't think so.
And I think we're going to call the campaign NoMona. I'm done with this guy. Does that sound good to you?
No, I love Matt.
And I think Matt's going to start a counter campaign that he mentioned called Silence the Whisperer. And we're gonna throw down hardcore. So.
Throw down.
And by the way, Matt, I'm taking pancakes back. Pancakes are not your thing. I loved pancakes when you were knee-high to a grasshopper. Before, you were a twinkle in your mother's eye. I'm taking my
I don't
pancakes
think
back.
he's that young.
Oh, he's young.
He's not that young.
Oh, he is.
No, I don't.
He just left his parents' house. So.
He has 2 kids. All right, so thanks for hanging out with us
Bye, everybody.
and joining this crazy circus.
Remember, the only thing Sergeant Slaughter ever did important was in G.I. Joe. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.